call. I really appreciate you giving the time. And I was going through the Twitter, I was going through the other website where they have talked about you, the interview which you have given earlier. And I'll start this interview with very small brief about you. Please add if I miss anything. And then we'll, uh, I have certain question for you, you being somebody who is working very closely with HAL and with vast experience in Indian Air Force. But please feel free to add whatever experience you have or whatever inspirational story that you can add for the for our next generation. So, sir, a small introduction about you. Wing Commander Unni Pillai, sir, was commissioned into the Indian Air Force in 1984 and moved to HAL in 2008 after 24 years of service with Indian Air Force. Indian Air Force. He was chief test pilot in HAL Rotary Wing Division. He has close to 8,000 hours of flying experience. So, sir, with this, would you like to add something in this? I have lot of question. I have lot of question with this, but it will be really great if you can add something from your side.
Actually, I joined HL in 2003.
Okay.
Okay, then in 2009, I was a chief test pilot
Okay.
and I remained till I retired. And so it was a long tenure as a CTP. And fortunately for me, and rarely does it happen that in that small period, we were able to push out three prototypes.
Okay.
Okay, and not only complete their testing and everything, we were able to introduce them into service also. The last one was the LUH. So by the
Elevate.
time I left, the first production aircraft was already out.
Okay.
So that is, I mean, I'm consider myself very lucky to have been in space and time at that moment where I could contribute. And of course, I had an excellent team with me, which, who were good. And of course, we all did our work, focused work. So
Okay.
we were able to give India at least three helicopters. You see, helicopters are very, very important because they are used by everybody: Army, Navy, Air Force, police, BSF, Coast Guard, name somebody, civil. And if we don't have our own prototype in India, our own helicopters in India, we end up buying. And we are talking about very large numbers, which means the amount of money which goes out of the country is huge.
Right.
And also, helicopters are useful for everybody.
Right, sir.
Everybody. So we will be able to offer it to other friendly countries, like we've done to so many of our neighbors, Nepal, Mauritius, and of course Maldives also, and and they use these machines to benefit their people, and that gives us a good diplomatic tool also.
Okay.
So that is nice.
So, sir, one follow-up question because you have discussed that helicopters have their own play in the defense forces. I was listening to one of your call with I think Krishnan sir, who is an expert in HL. He covered a lot of things around HL, and you were talking about how what kind of role this helicopter can play in terrains like Himalayas, where
Yeah.
fighter won't be that much effective as helicopters can be. But a counter question can be that people like us only have seen movies, and in movies, people usually call these helicopters as, and I'm sorry if I'm using this terminology, "bina panki ki murgi," right? So I'm really sorry, but this is what we have heard. So it will be good to at least hear from you your take on this.
See, a helicopter has a unique ability to fly at any speed. Okay, it can hover
Hmm.
and it can go into forward flight. The reason the ethic about that, the reason of existence of helicopter is ability to hover and vertical flight. So, like, okay, imagine Kargil.
Right,
If we had an effective attack helicopter during the Kargil period, we could have easily hovered, at some hilltop, behind a hilltop, picked up the targets
right,
and pinned them down. So without unnecessary loss of life which we had to endure during
Right.
in that war.
Right.
So these benefits are tremendous. And it is so difficult for a fighter to pick up a target at altitude. And it's a small, because it is there in X, Y, and Z. It is not a flat terrain where you can plan. And
Right.
so it is very difficult to deliver a weapon. So you have to use very extreme weapons like laser guided bombs and things like that,
Okay.
which would have been made much easier if we had a attack helicopter which could operate at those altitudes. And that is exactly what LCH has turned out to be. If we had LCH during that time, it would have been a different story altogether.
Right. And sir,
LCH or
light combat helicopter, Prachand.
yeah,
Sir,
Prachand is
yeah, that is made for all the three branches of Indian Defense: Army, Air Force, and Navy.
primarily Army and Air Force.
Okay.
The Navy, of course, if they are into taking a beachfront or something, yes, then it is useful for them. Like the American Marines use attack helicopters.
Right.
So that way.
So, sir, again, as a follow-up question, I have means while I was doing the research, I came across Mi-35. That was a attack helicopter which Indian Army have been using. So, was that
Yeah.
used in Kargil War, or if that was
No,
not used?
that is where the problem is.
Okay.
See, our country has a very unique uh, topography, जो बोलते हैं. So we have very high altitudes and very high temperature of those altitudes.
Okay.
In Leh and some other temperature can go to 34, 35 degrees.
Right.
So what happens is the density comes down considerably.
Okay.
So your uh, most helicopters can't operate at those altitudes,
Okay.
especially the Western. The Western ones are made for low temperature and low altitude. Well, that is their requirement.
Okay.
Our requirement is separate. You see, so we have to make machines for our requirement.
Right.
So now this Mi-35 could not even cross Banihal Pass here. Banihal Pass is you cross Banihal to enter into Srinagar Valley.
Hmm.
So you couldn't even cross that. Forget Kargil. Kargil is much further and higher.
Okay.
So that was the reason as why we couldn't use it there. It just couldn't be used.
And sir, did you participate at any level in the Kargil work? If it is beyond my capability to ask, you can simply deny. But
No, during Kargil War, I was here I was on deputation to HAL,
okay,
19.
okay, okay.
So could not participate.
So, sir,
Because
okay, okay. Please carry on. Miss, you were saying something. I'm sorry.
no, definitely if I was very much in the Air Force in an operation, I would have loved to do that.
So, sir, in that time, I think only two or three helicopters were used in Kargil. I think it was Chetak, Cheta, and Cheetal, if I'm right. Oh,
No, the started with Mi-17s, trying to
okay,
uh, fire rockets at them.
okay,
Now the disadvantage is that rocket is a 57 rocket, and you have to go within a kilometer
kilometer range.
to fire it.
Okay,
And Mi-17 is a huge machine. It's not for attack. It is more for carrying passengers and freight and things like that.
hmm,
It is not supposed to be used for this kind of activity.
okay,
Now, it's a huge target. So when you fire at 1 kilometer, by the time you pull out, you are less than half a kilometer.
right.
And those were plum targets. So those people they fired their missiles and guns and whatever. They got one got hit so badly it crashed, killing all the people. After that they withdrew the Mi-17, and then they all effort was to take a Mi-35 there, but it just couldn't happen. So thereafter this was stopped.
So, sir, when you say
So
that air density is very light, that's mean the propellers are not able to cut the air properly and not able to generate resistance, or air is not able to generate resistance.
so in simple terms, if you have a helicopter which is say 5,000 kgs of
Hmm.
mass,
Right,
you will need to push 5,000 kgs of air downwards.
right, sir.
The density is low.
Hmm.
What happens is that it needs to work so much harder to push the air down.
Okay.
So that is not technologically feasible beyond a certain. You heard of Mars rover, no? That
Right.
Mars,
Right.
the helicopter
Yes. Yes.
which
Yes.
went to Mars, which
Yes. Yes. Yes.
eh?
Yes. Yes.
That had a that the density there is equivalent of I think top of Mount Everest, something on the same line, 28,000 feet.
Okay.
They used some contra-rotating blades, made it as light
Hmm.
for it to fly there.
Okay.
So those are the complications of helicopter. The helicopter, despite all its limitation in height,
Hmm.
okay, it's an extremely useful machine. Extremely useful. You can use it, in any which way. For example, now this was in 1985, I think, 85, 86. There was a Chinese intrusion into Arunachal.
Okay.
So I think it was General Sundarji. He did not want a repeat of the 62 fiasco. So he said, we'll push our people as soon as possible. Now, there are no roads. The
Hmm.
only way you could do it is use helicopters.
Right.
So I still remember I was in Jodhpur. We were asked to go all the way to Guwahati and
Hmm.
Tawang
Hmm.
to operate from there. And we pushed in troops and we pushed in ammunition, whatever was required. So the flexibility which the helicopter gives you is amazing.
Okay.
So you want a mountain top taken.
Hmm.
There are two ways. Climb all the way and, you know, go or quickly position a whole lot of troops on that place
Right.
using helicopters.
Right. So, okay. So, sir, coming back to your original day when you joined the defense forces, and I have been asking
Yeah.
this question to all the people whom I've interviewed earlier. Your inspiration behind joining Indian Defense Forces and the reason behind you choosing Indian Air Forces specifically of all the three services. So it would be good for the young listeners also that when they are coming out of school, college, what inspired you to join Defense Forces and what inspired you to join Indian Air Force?
Yeah, I always wanted to fly from
Okay,
childhood onward. Okay, I wanted to become a pilot.
okay,
That there was no doubt about. So I was interested in anything to do with flying. And of course, my father was nice enough to encourage. So I used to do aero modeling. I used to go and see any air show or anything of that type, so there's no doubt in my head that I want to join the forces. Now, school, as soon as I finished my 11th, I had appeared for uh, NDA
okay,
and luckily I got selected. So, stayed away. And another thing which I thought, okay, I don't have to study much.
okay.
Okay, otherwise, because in school, 11th is, it was
Different,
slog. Okay.
right,
Eh? But I was mistaken there. Yes, I didn't study much initially, but then Air Force, the manuals were this thick,
right,
you
right.
need to, and so it was a lot of studying, of course. And then I became a test pilot, even more studying.
Right, because you have to understand the whole physics, technology, and everything behind the any machine that you are operating.
Yeah, yeah. But that learning is, different. It is not like studying in school.
Hmm.
It's fascinating, you discovering new things and when you're actually doing something, working on something. Uh, it's quite nice. It's a lot different than just reading books and so
I
yeah,
have a question for the future where I want to integrate the product development side and your experience because I myself is a product developer. I am an entrepreneur. So that will be really interesting for anybody who is listening to who will be watching this video that how what kind of thing an entrepreneur can learn for developing a hardware product. Software India is very good. In terms of software, I think we are the best service provider in the world. We are very great
mm,
mind. But when it's come to manufacturing, we are still leading behind. I have been following somebody from on Twitter. His handle is Proto Phoenix, and he has been pushing manufacturing a lot in India. But before that, I wanted to ask you a question about PABT. Means what was your experience when you gave the PABT, and how was it back then?
See, PABT, okay, we look at this way. Uh, Anybody can become a pilot first.
Hmm.
Only thing is a person with good psychomotor skills learns in a much faster time. And somebody who does not have good psychomotor skill will take a very long time and he may not shine as a pilot.
Okay.
You understand?
Hmm.
So now obviously the government can't spend unlimited amount of money on you training you. They have a set, okay, you have say 18 hours of flying or
Hmm.
14 hours. You're supposed to have learned enough to go alone in a
Okay.
controlled environment.
Hmm.
You understand?
Right.
So if you are not able to make it in that stated number of hours, you are given extension, you call it, and a warning. And if
Hmm.
you still don't perform after, they give you additional couple of flights. If you still don't perform, they ground you.
Okay.
So now, if PABT is essentially to weed out, people essentially with poor psychomotor skills,
Okay.
uh, aviation understanding and situational awareness, you call it.
Okay.
So, see, in civil you can carry on flying. Yeah? You can fly 150 hours
Hmm.
and then go home.
Okay.
You
Right.
understand?
Hmm.
There's no limit to how much, you know, but you will have to keep spending money, keep spending money.
So
To prevent that, this thing is there.
every new flight can be a new experience or new learning. Even though I wanted to ask this question, the very first question, when you say 8,000 hours of flying, how means how does somebody who is into forces see that 8,000 hours of flying? And do you think there are still possibilities where somebody like you can do some mistakes?
Yeah. Firstly, you should always bear in mind that mistakes can happen.
Hmm.
So you see, you have to guard against it. See, I'm lucky to have flown 8,000 hours because I was always in flying.
Okay.
From the beginning, I have never had a break in flying because I never did any course which was not flying oriented.
Okay.
I never had more, maximum 1 month's break in flying. That's how I have accumulated so many hours despite being in operation flying and test flying.
Okay.
These flights or sorties, you call it, are short.
Hmm.
They are not like, in a transport aircraft, let's say, in a airliner, you go fly for 10, 15 hours
Right.
in one.
Hmm.
It is not like that. You fly for 45 minutes, maximum 1 hour or 30 minutes. So to fly 8,000 hours, the number of flights which you have to do is hell of a lot, which may be 20, 25,000 flights.
Okay. So kind
Okay.
of 300 flights per year. If you accumulate 20 years of service, to get
Uh,
to this level, you need to have almost like 300 days continuous flying apart from the leaves, and so kind of a flight every day or every second day.
Practically, yes.
Okay.
That is the continuity required.
Okay.
See, I've been flying continuously for 30, nearly 40 years, yeah.
Right. Means 1984, I was not even born then. And I think you retired 2000, last year you retired. Means it gave me a goosebump when I went through a Twitter feed where people have said word like gods have taken out their shoes. Flying gods, it was for you, sir. Flying god have taken out their shoes when they have retired. So people actually consider you as a god, means god of flying because you have been doing flying. And sir, coming to what we have produced in HA, just like ALH through or ALH WSI Rudra or LCS Prachand, or recently that you have mentioned LUH light duty helicopter. So in HAL, basically, what has been your experience as a chief test pilot? How things are different being a chief test pilot versus a pilot in forces? Because in forces, what we are flying are tested machines which have been flying from long back. And versus when you come into HA, then you become a chief test pilot. It's like starting from the very first flight, or starting with a taxi run to the final deployment to the forces.
See, flying in the Air Force is operational flying.
Okay.
You have absolute faith in the machine. Okay. Uh, that everything has been tested and it is prepared accordingly, and you just go ahead and do your mission. Your focus is entirely on the mission. But when you are a test pilot, your focus is only on the machine, not
Okay.
on the mission. Okay, you have to carefully focus on the machine. Of course, whatever task you're supposed to do, you have to focus on that also. But you have to be careful, looking out for any signs of any problems, and see what happens is whenever you do a first flight, the
Hmm.
preparation starts years before.
Okay.
Are involved with them, involved with the ground test.
Hmm.
Okay, to see whether everything is tested on ground, everything is working the way it should be. And in HL, we had a lot of brilliant designers. So when you point out something, okay, uh, they understand, okay, this is a critical issue, it needs to be looked, and whatever you say, they have been taking it up and following. And for some reason, if there's a technological block there, we discuss and find a way around it.
Okay.
So, so this kind of environment was built up in HL where the flight operations and the design group were, working as a cohesive team, which is needed, which is very important if you want to churn out new aircraft for the country's requirements.
Hmm.
Otherwise, a project can go endlessly. You understand?
Right.
If you do small, there's so many projects I know which have carried dragged on and on for 20, 30 years without seeing any end.
Uh,
So,
okay. A question from a civilian point of view. Uh, India don't have any dearth of technology specialist or mind. We have some of the greatest mind in the whole world, right? You can take example of Sundar Pichai working for Google or Satya Nadella working for Microsoft. When we see from the outside, uh, countries like Iran, I think, or somebody, I forgot the name, who has developed Bakhtiyar drone, right? They have done the development for Bakhtiyar drone. So why can't we as a country? Is it like shortage of fund which government is putting behind the development machinery, or is it something internally? And this is very normal question because recently we have seen Tapas UAV. It has kind of grounded, not sure what the status over there. And now we are talking about Ghatak UAV, which is being developed by DRDO and Indian Institute of Technologies. So what are we missing over? And this is very genuine question from me as a technologist. And is it a can be it a case that if government of India or prime minister, any prime minister say, okay, take whatever fund, but give me this in 10 years, can that
yeah,
be
definitely.
okay?
See, why is ISRO success? Because primarily it was under PMO.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. Uh, whatever funds were required, okay, and objectives had been made very clear by the government. Okay, we need to launch satellite or whatever the objectives were given,
Hmm.
and they accordingly performed.
Okay.
Even making engines and were rocket engines were not an easy task.
Right.
Okay, Indians are an amazing set of people.
Hmm.
We are brilliant. Okay, only thing is we have to be led correctly.
Okay.
The lead has to come from the government. And earlier, I don't think the 15 years back, 20 years back, government was not interested in producing anything internally.
Okay.
They were very happy with buying stuff from outside and continuing for whatever reasons I don't know.
Hmm.
But for example, now if we wanted to sell abroad, like
Right.
I remember we were keen on some country had shown some keenness, Chile, on buying through because it would operate well in their environment.
Right.
Now, the government was not keen at all to push. They said it is not our business. Whereas the other governments, it used to be between prime minister to prime minister. Okay, we have this product by it, which is happening now in our country. So now we're getting that push.
Okay.
So now I'm sure HL will be able to sell abroad well because entire MEA, government, HL, everybody is working as a cohesive team, trying to uh, give it to other countries also. So this was not happening earlier because the outlook of the country itself, like I said, was different.
Okay.
And plus, as Indians, we have a genetical defect, which we mock your own products.
Very
Instead
true.
of taking whatever small thing which you make, whether it's a safety pin, we must take pride in it.
Hmm.
But you mock it,
Right.
and made outside was beautiful. It was even though it will not do half the task
Hmm.
of what you want, but that was the attitude of our countrymen.
I think,
Sadly so.
yeah, I think as you mentioned that LCS Prachanda is one of the only aircraft to fly at a ceiling which it is flying right now. No other helicopter is able to fly at that level.
Correct. But you are still enamored by the Apache because
Hmm.
it
Right.
cannot operate there. There's no good
Right.
in having that machine at, for example, if you have a war along the Chinese border,
Hmm.
there's no good in having it because it cannot operate there. You
Right.
need something which can operate there. So this fascination with Western glitzy and what do you call well marketed products
Hmm.
is something which we are very gullible to as Indians.
Can that specification variation because of geographies we have can be one another reason that it's a bit difficult to develop a prototype or a machine that can operate in the heights of Himalayas also and that can operate in the naval area also because
Because the requirements are quite different.
hmm,
See,
right.
because the you have the rotor system, the rotor blade has to be designed in a certain way for higher altitude,
Hmm.
in a certain way for lower altitude. Having one machine which operates all the way up would be compromise in multiple areas. So these are the problems which you have. But now that we have the ability, technological ability,
Hmm.
uh, anybody can give the requirements and we can make it.
Okay.
That is our sense now.
Okay. Sir, few questions. In my last interview, I was given a suggestion that we never talk about the emotional side of our veterans or emotional side of our defense forces guys. So I asked this question last time. I was talking to Wing Commander Abhijit Gokhale. He was a
Hmm.
B-21 pilot in my last interview, and I asked him that how do you train your mind because a lot of news keep on coming that some aircraft has crashed and somebody has lost his life. For example, I was in Bangalore when this incident happened in HA, where two pilots lost their life. Their name was
Yeah,
Squadron Leader Samir Abrol and Siddharth Negi in Mirage
yeah,
2000. So how you because you are a human being, right? And when you are going for flying, your mind has to be uh, in the most in the best manner. It should be very precise. Your decision has to be precise. So how do you, as a human being, deal with those kind of news?
yeah. Whenever there's a crash or somebody dies,
Hmm.
it is upsetting, there's no doubt. Now, only thing about this thing is we need to find out why it has happened and absolutely do take steps to prevent it from ever happening. My outlook has always been that, especially because in Dhruv we had a number of crashes, a certain
Hmm.
number, and it upsets you for days together.
Right.
And my effort has always been to find out exactly what went wrong, get the designers together, find solutions,
Hmm.
okay, as soon as possible, implement them and make it safer. But it is disturbing, there's no doubt.
Sometimes it can be because of multiple other factors also. For example, I was recently reading a book, and I was not aware about. I have read about Group Captain Varun Singh earlier, who was a LCA pilot also. It is the Mi-17 crash that happened in which
Yeah.
CDS died. And he was somebody who figured out few faults in LCA software, which was rectified then in Indian Air Force. It's I think so. Can that be because of the factor which are not in our control? For example, any
No,
feedback on that?
see, despite of how much ever testing we do,
Hmm.
uh, there might be certain gaps which only show up later on in service.
Okay.
You understand? You take a look around you now. Airbus 320, which we
Right.
fly happily to, had a number of crashes, not only in the prototype stage, even after introducing one in India here itself, Bangalore we had
Right.
seven. You name any aircraft, it would have had problem. You take F-16, you take anything.
Hmm.
Okay, even after introduced into service, there have been major issues. But the aim has to be to resolve them. Okay, we find an issue, fix them, and go ahead, continue with.
Uh, Now coming to the where I wanted to have a combined question of sir, the meeting might end, so I will you can rejoin the meeting. Will not extend it post 10 minutes after that. I have couple of question, and this question I want to ask as an entrepreneur because you have I think you have mentioned somewhere that as a chief test pilot, when you start uh, developing some product, you start from the very scratch. In fact, it can be your involvement at the pen and pencil level also, where somebody is drafting the design for the aircraft, when somebody is finalizing the engine requirement or the requirement which you would have seen while you were flying in Indian Air Force, to the avionics part. And after that, when you do the first test run, the feedback that you give back to the team, they integrate them back. So, what has been your experience in development of this all ALH, ALH devolution, Rudra, LCS, and LUH? So, how do you see an entrepreneur can learn from your experience being a chief test pilot?
Uh,
Because it's the product development. It's like when I do
yes,
product development, I start from the what is the requirement in the field, then we figure out what kind of component can come into picture. Then we do the software development, then we try the product in the field, we take the farmer's feedback. I work in the agriculture field, and then we deploy the second version or third version or fourth version or fifth version. What an entrepreneur can learn from the defense forces while developing a product, because these are very complex machines.
see, it is very complex. There's not, there are so many multiple aspects to it. You know, it is not just the airframe, the blade, aerofoil, the blade, the avionics. There are so many parts to it. Each, you have design groups working on each of these
Okay.
parts. Uh, the main thing is if you have clarity in what exactly you want and you have done your planning well,
Hmm.
the end requirement has to be very, very, very clear. And of course, the whatever you are making has to be, utilizable by people. And then you work at it. Maybe in a couple of iterations, you would, get it. But it shouldn't happen that if you don't have clarity on what you exactly want to make, you will keep iterating over multiple prototypes or products, and then only achieve. See, as an entrepreneur, you don't have unlimited amount of money. You have only
Right.
limited amount of money.
Right.
So with that limited money, uh, you have to get your product moving.
So the end goal has to be very precise that I want to target
Very
this thing.
this is define the envelope of whatever you are going to make. For example, let's say you're designing a motorcycle. You should know, okay, I want my motorcycle only to go till 120 kilometers per hour. Okay, it
Right.
should brake within. Now, if you don't have this clarity, you will end up, selecting an engine which is ridiculous,
Hmm.
having some odd set of tires and things like that. Everything stems from this absolute clarity in defining the envelope of what you want in the end product.
Okay. Sir, what we can do is we can end this call and you can join, and I'll just take 10 more minutes to conclude this thing. Lastly, I wanted to ask you, I have just two questions left. I have multiple questions, but I will limit myself to two questions given the time limitation. So we can end this call and you can rejoin the call again.
The same,
Yes, same link, sir. Same link.
okay, okay.